The warning alarm screamed across Harmony 7 station like angry metal birds. Red lights flashed in every corridor as the massive diplomatic station shuddered under the approach of something enormous. Captain Voss ran to the observation deck and pressed his face against the thick glass. What he saw made his blood turn cold. A fleet of alien warships hung in space like dark metal storms. Each ship was the size of a small moon, covered in spikes and weapons that glowed with deadly energy. At the front of this terrible armada was the largest ship of all. It looked like a giant metal beast with teeth made of cannon barrels. The station's communication system crackled to life with a voice that sounded like grinding rocks mixed with breaking glass. Pathetic creatures of this worthless station, I am Commander Vextal of the Crimson Fleet. You will prepare a meeting room for my arrival. You have 1 hour. The message ended with static that hurt everyone's ears. Captain Voss wiped sweat from his forehead and quickly called the diplomatic council. Representatives from dozens of different alien species gathered in the main conference hall. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had scales or fur or skin that changed colors. All of them looked worried. What do we know about this Vextal? Character? Asked Ambassador Kree, whose blue skin had turned pale with fear. He's bad news, replied Commander Torres, a tall alien with 4 arms. I've heard stories. He conquered the Zelnar system in just 3 days, wiped out their entire defense fleet without losing a single ship. 3 days? Whispered another representative. The Zelnar had 50 warships. Had being the important word, Torres said grimly. Now they're space dust. In the corner of the room sat a human. He was not very tall and not very strong-looking. His black hair was neat and his clothes were simple. He wore a plain gray suit that looked like something any office worker might wear. His name was Kang Hyun, and most people in the room had forgotten he was there. While the other aliens argued and worried, Kang Hyun sat quietly with a small tablet in his hands. He typed notes sometimes, but mostly just listened. His face showed no fear or excitement. He looked like someone waiting for a bus. Maybe we should evacuate, suggested one representative whose voice sounded like chirping birds. Where would we go? Asked another. His ships surround the entire system. The debate continued for another 30 minutes until the station shook again. This time it was not from fear but from something large docking with their port. Heavy footsteps echoed through the hallways. The sound grew louder and closer. The conference room doors exploded inward with a bang that made everyone jump. Through the smoke and sparks walked Commander Vextal. He was enormous. His body stood nearly 8 feet tall and was covered in dark red scales that looked like armor. His head was shaped like a snake's but with 4 yellow eyes instead of 2. Sharp teeth filled his mouth like broken swords. When he walked, his clawed feet left marks in the metal floor. Behind him marched 12 soldiers in black armor. Each one carried weapons that hummed with dangerous energy. They spread out around the room and pointed their guns at the frightened representatives. Silence, Vextal commanded, and his voice filled the room like thunder. I am Commander Vextal, Master of Death, Conqueror of Worlds, Lord of the Crimson Fleet. In the past year alone, I have brought 17 star systems under my control. He walked slowly around the room, looking at each alien representative like a predator studying prey. Your pathetic species sent distress calls across the galaxy. They begged for mercy. They offered their wealth, their technology, their very lives. None of it mattered. Vextal stopped in front of a large screen on the wall. With one clawed hand, he activated a device on his belt. The screen filled with images that made several representatives gasp in horror. This was the Kalani homeworld. Vextal said as burning cities appeared on the screen. They thought their planetary shields would protect them. I proved them wrong in 4 hours. The images changed to show space battles. Alien ships exploded in bright flashes while dark red vessels moved between them like sharks among fish. The hegemony of Tar assembled their greatest fleet to stop me, Vextal continued. 200 ships, their best pilots, their most advanced weapons. He paused for effect. It took me 6 hours to destroy them all. More images flashed across the screen. Burning space stations, defeated armies, planets covered in the red banners of the Crimson Fleet. I have perfected the art of war, Vextal announced, his 4 eyes gleaming with pride. I strike fast and hard. I target command centers first to create chaos. Then I destroy their will to fight with overwhelming force. Fear becomes my greatest weapon. He turned to face the terrified representatives. This is why they call me the Master of Death. No species has ever withstood my tactical genius. No defense has proven strong enough. No strategy has been clever enough. Ambassador Kree raised one shaking tentacle. What do you want from us? Vextal laughed, a sound like breaking glass. I want nothing from you weak creatures. I come here because the humans have begun expanding into my territory. They have colonies on 3 worlds that I now claim as mine. Several representatives turned to look at Kang Hyun, who continued typing quietly on his tablet. He had not looked up during Vextal's entire speech. The humans will surrender these colonies to me, Vextal continued, or I will take them by force and add their worlds to my collection. I have brought 300 warships to ensure they make the correct choice. 300, whispered Commander Torres. That's larger than most sector fleets. Exactly, Vextal said with satisfaction. I do not believe in fair fights. I believe in absolute victory. He pointed one clawed finger at the screen, which now showed detailed maps of human colony worlds. These planets have defense stations and patrol ships. Perhaps they even have some clever tactics. It will not matter. I will crush them like insects under my heel. The alien warlord began pacing again, clearly enjoying the fear he was creating. I have studied every major military power in this galaxy. I have defeated them all. The Corvan Empire fell in 2 weeks. The Democratic Union lasted only days. The humans will be no different. In his corner, Kang Hyun finally looked up from his tablet. His dark eyes met Vextal's yellow ones for just a moment. Then he went back to his typing. Vextal noticed the brief glance and chuckled. You there, human. Are you recording my words for your leaders? Good. Make sure they understand exactly what they face. Kang Hyun nodded politely but said nothing. 48 hours, Vextal announced to the room. The humans have 48 hours to surrender their colonies. If they refuse, I will demonstrate why I am called the Master of Death. The conference room emptied quickly after Vextal's dramatic exit. Representatives from different species rushed to contact their homeworlds with news of the threat. Some packed their belongings and prepared to flee the station. Others sent desperate messages asking for military support that would never come in time. Kang Hyun remained in his chair, still typing on his tablet. The device looked ordinary but was actually connected to a secure human communication network. Every word Vextal had spoken was already being analyzed by experts light years away. You should leave too, Captain Voss said as he approached the human. That monster will probably start shooting at anything that moves soon. I have a job to finish, Kang Hyun replied without looking up. His voice was calm and quiet, like someone discussing the weather. Captain Voss shook his head and walked away, muttering about stubborn humans. On his tablet screen, Kang Hyun was reviewing data that Dr. Shin Mirai had sent from Earth's Strategic Analysis Center. She was one of humanity's best experts on alien psychology and warfare. Her message appeared in small text. Kang, the footage he showed reveals important patterns. Notice how his ships always attack in the same formation. 3 waves. First the scouts, then heavy cruisers, finally his command ship. He never changes this approach because it has always worked. Kang Hyun smiled slightly. Predictability was a weakness, even when it came from strength. Another message appeared from Dr. Shin. His species shows classic domination behavior. He needs others to acknowledge his superiority. This psychological need might be something we can use. Kang Hyun stood and walked toward the station's observation deck. Through the massive windows he could see Vextal's fleet hanging in space like metal storm clouds. The ships were impressive, but Kang Hyun noticed they were arranged in the exact same pattern the alien had used in his victory recordings. Dr. Shin, he typed quietly. Confirmed. Same formation every time. Send analysis to Admiral Park. The reply came quickly. Already done. She wants you to get more tactical details if possible. Can you arrange a private meeting? Kang Hyun considered this request. It would be dangerous to spend time alone with a creature like Vextal, but the information they needed might only come from direct conversation. I will try, he typed back. As if summoned by his thoughts, heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor. Vextal appeared with only 2 guards this time. The alien warlord seemed to be exploring the station, probably looking for weaknesses or valuable technology to steal. Human, Vextal called out when he spotted Kang Hyun. Still here? Most of the other cowards have already started running. I find your military history fascinating, Kang Hyun said, bowing politely. Would it be possible to hear more details about your greatest victories? My government would want a complete report. Vextal's 4 eyes gleamed with pleasure. Like many successful commanders, he loved talking about his achievements. You show proper respect, unlike these other pathetic creatures. Very well. I will grant you a private audience. The alien warlord led Kang Hyun to a smaller meeting room that his soldiers had already secured. Maps and holographic displays covered the walls, showing star systems marked with red symbols. Each symbol represented a world under Vextal's control. 17. Systems, Vextal said proudly. Billions of beings who now serve my empire, and I conquered them all through superior tactics and overwhelming force. How do you choose your targets? Kang Hyun asked, activating a recording function on his tablet that looked like simple note-taking. I study their defenses first, Vextal explained, pointing at one of the displays. Every species thinks they are unique, but they all make the same mistakes. They spread their forces too thin. They rely on fixed fortifications. They waste time with complex battle plans. The alien commander walked over to a detailed map showing ship positions around a blue planet. Take the Corvan Empire, for example. They had impressive battleships but arranged them in a defensive shell around their homeworld. Very pretty to look at, but tactically foolish. Why was it foolish? Kang Hyun asked. Because I do not attack where they are strongest, Vextal said with a harsh laugh. I used my scouts to identify gaps in their formation. Then I sent my heavy cruisers through those gaps to attack their supply ships and communication centers. Once they lost coordination, their mighty battleships became confused targets. Kang Hyun nodded and typed more notes. And your command ship? Always stays at maximum weapons range until the enemy is weakened, Vextal said. I do not risk my life unnecessarily. Only fools lead from the front. The alien showed Kang Hyun more battle recordings, each one following the same pattern. Scout ships would probe for weaknesses. Heavy cruisers would exploit those weaknesses. The command ship would deliver the final blow from a safe distance. Your tactics seem very efficient, Kang Hyun observed. Efficient and proven, Vextal agreed. I have refined these methods through dozens of campaigns. Why change what works perfectly? Do you ever face enemies who adapt to your strategy? Vextal laughed again, a sound like grinding metal. Adapt? Most species barely manage to coordinate a single response before I destroy them. Even if they tried to change their tactics, it would not matter. I have more ships, better weapons, and superior experience. Kang Hyun spent the next hour listening to detailed explanations of battle formations, weapon capabilities, and command procedures. Vextal seemed to enjoy having an attentive audience and revealed far more than he probably intended. My flagship, the Death's Edge, carries quantum torpedoes that can crack a planet's crust, the alien boasted. But its real strength is the command center. From there, I can coordinate the actions of 300 ships with perfect precision. That must require excellent communication systems, Kang Hyun said. The best in the galaxy, Vextal replied. Quantum encrypted channels that cannot be jammed or intercepted. My orders reach every ship instantly. The alien pointed to a complex diagram showing communication frequencies and encryption patterns. Lesser commanders lose battles because their ships cannot talk to each other. I solved that problem long ago. As the conversation continued, Kang Hyun gathered detailed information about ship specifications, crew numbers, supply requirements, and tactical preferences. Vextal provided all of this freely, believing it would only increase the humans' fear and respect. Your people will understand the futility of resistance, Vextal said as their meeting concluded. No force in this galaxy has withstood the Crimson Fleet. Your 3 colonies will surrender or burn. I will make sure they receive your message accurately, Kang Hyun replied with another polite bow. After Vextal left, Kang Hyun immediately transmitted everything to the human fleet. Dr. Shin's analysis came back within minutes. Excellent work. We now have enough data to plan a proper response. Admiral Park says to tell you that sometimes the best weapon against pride is patience. Kang Hyun looked out at the alien fleet and smiled. Soon, the Master of Death would learn about human precision. The next morning brought chaos to Harmony 7 Station. More alien species had decided to evacuate during the night. Ships launched constantly from the docking bays, carrying frightened diplomats and their families away from what many believed would become a battlefield. Kang Hyun watched the evacuation from his quarters while reviewing the data Dr. Shin had sent overnight. The human strategic analysis team had worked through the night, studying every detail of Vextal's tactical methods. The communication frequency data is particularly valuable, Dr. Shin's message read. If we can target those specific wavelengths, we might be able to disrupt his coordination advantage. A heavy knock on his door interrupted Kang Hyun's reading. He opened it to find one of Vextal's armored soldiers. "The commander wants to see you," the soldier said in broken universal language. "Now." Kang Hyun followed the guard through the station's corridors to what had once been the diplomatic banquet hall. Vextal had claimed it as his personal headquarters. Tables and chairs had been pushed aside to make room for holographic battle displays and communication equipment. "Ah, my attentive human audience," Vextal said when Kang Hyun entered. "I have been thinking about our conversation yesterday. There are more victories I should share with you." The alien warlord seemed different today. His posture was more relaxed and his voice carried less anger. Success had made him confident, perhaps even careless. "I would be honored to hear them," Kang Hyun replied, taking his usual position with tablet ready. "Let me tell you about my greatest triumph," Vextal said, activating a large holographic display. The Battle of Zerion Prime, 5 different species, had formed an alliance to stop my expansion. They combined their fleets into one massive armada. The display showed hundreds of ships arranged in a complex defensive formation. Different colored markers indicated vessels from various alien species. "They had nearly 400 ships," Vextal continued, "more than I had ever faced at once. Other commanders might have retreated or waited for reinforcements, but I saw opportunity where others saw danger." Kang Hyun leaned forward with apparent interest. "How did you approach such a large force?" "By understanding their weakness," Vextal said proudly. 5 species means 5 different command structures, 5 different communication protocols, 5 different tactical doctrines. They were not one fleet, but 5 separate fleets trying to work together. The alien walked around the holographic display, pointing out different sections. The hegemony ships stayed in tight formations because that is their tradition. The Democratic Union spread out to cover more space. The others each followed their own patterns. "That must have created coordination problems," Kang Hyun observed. "Exactly." Vextal's 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "I began the battle with my standard 3-wave approach, but this time I targeted their communication ships first. Each species had brought their own command vessels with their own systems." The display changed to show the battle in motion. Red markers representing Vextal's ships moved in precise formations, while the multicolored Alliance fleet began to lose cohesion. Within 30 minutes, they could not coordinate their movements, Vextal explained. The hegemony ships thought the Democratic Union was retreating when they were actually trying to flank. 2 species accidentally fired on each other in the confusion. Kang Hyun watched the tactical display carefully, noting how Vextal's ships exploited each breakdown in enemy coordination. The alien commander's methods were brutal but undeniably effective. "My heavy cruisers focused on the largest ships while my scouts harassed their supply lines," Vextal continued. "But the real innovation was using their own confusion against them." "How do you mean?" Kang Hyun asked. Vextal smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "I sent false communication signals mimicking their command codes. Orders to retreat sent to advancing ships. Orders to attack sent to defensive positions. They began fighting each other as much as they fought me. The battle recording showed exactly what Vextal described. Alliance ships turned on each other, while the Crimson Fleet maintained perfect coordination. The outcome was never in doubt. The entire engagement lasted less than 4 hours, Vextal said with obvious pride. 400 ships reduced to scrap metal and debris. Not one of my vessels was destroyed. Kang Hyun typed notes steadily, capturing every detail. Your communication jamming techniques must be very advanced. The best in the galaxy, Vextal boasted. My technicians can crack any encryption and mimic any signal pattern. We have stolen communication protocols from dozens of species over the years. The alien commander showed Kang Hyun several more battles, each one demonstrating different aspects of his tactical genius. There was the siege of Kolar Station, where he used gravity mines to trap the defending fleet. The assault on New Thessaly, where he turned the planet's own defense satellites against its cities. You adapt your methods to each enemy, Kang Hyun noted. A good commander studies his opponents, Vextal agreed. But I have noticed that most species follow predictable patterns. They rely too heavily on technology or tradition or emotion. Humans will probably be the same. What do you expect from human tactics? Vextal laughed harshly. From what I have observed, humans are aggressive but undisciplined. They take unnecessary risks and make decisions based on emotion rather than logic. Your species will probably charge straight at my fleet and rely on courage instead of strategy. Kang Hyun kept his expression neutral while typing. And how would you counter such an approach? With overwhelming firepower concentrated at the point of attack, Vextal replied immediately. Let them come forward into my trap, then destroy them with superior numbers. Simple and effective. The alien commander walked over to another display showing the 3 human colonies he intended to conquer. I have already sent scout ships to observe these worlds. Their defenses are adequate but not exceptional. Standard patrol vessels, orbital platforms, ground-based missile systems. Nothing you have not faced before? Kang Hyun asked. Nothing. At all, Vextal confirmed. I will use the same approach that conquered the Corvan Empire. Fast strike to eliminate their communication centers, followed by systematic destruction of their military assets. The colonies will surrender rather than see their civilian populations suffer. Kang Hyun spent another hour listening to detailed, tactical explanations. Vextal seemed to enjoy having someone who appreciated his military genius. The alien revealed information about ship capabilities, crew rotations, supply lines, and even personal habits of his senior officers. My fleet operates with perfect discipline, Vextal said. Every captain knows his role. Every gunner follows orders without question. This unity of command is what separates professional soldiers from amateur defenders. Your experience must give you great confidence, Kang Hyun observed. Absolute confidence, Vextal replied. In 17 campaigns, I have never lost a single battle. My methods have been tested against every type of enemy and every kind of defense. The humans will be just another entry in my victory records. As their conversation ended, Vextal activated a countdown timer on the main display. 26 hours remaining, he announced. Soon your people will have to choose between surrender and annihilation. Kang Hyun bowed politely and prepared to leave. As he reached the door, Vextal called out one final boast. Tell me, human, what could your species possibly do against such proven tactical superiority? Kang Hyun paused and turned back to face the alien warlord. For just a moment, something different flickered in his dark eyes. Something that was not fear or admiration. We learn, he said simply, then left the room. Behind him, Vextal laughed at what he thought was naive hope. He had no idea that human ships were already moving into position, armed with detailed knowledge of everything he had so proudly revealed. The 48-hour deadline passed at exactly 14:30 station time. Vextal stood in his command center watching the countdown reach 0 with satisfaction. No surrender message had come from the human colonies. No diplomatic offers. No pleas for mercy. Predictable, he said to his bridge crew. They will try to fight rather than submit. This will make the lesson more memorable for other species. His communication officer looked up from her console. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the human diplomatic vessel." "Put it through," Vextal ordered. "Let me hear their final desperate offer." The main screen activated to show Kang Hyun sitting in what appeared to be a simple communication room, but something was different about the human now. His plain clothes had been replaced by a dark blue uniform with silver markings. His quiet manner remained the same, but there was something new in his eyes. "Commander Vextal," Kang Hyun said politely. "Thank you for agreeing to speak with me. Have you come to surrender your colonies?" Vextal asked with amusement. "Actually, I wanted to thank you for the educational experience," Kang Hyun replied. "The past 2 days have been very informative." Vextal's 4 eyes narrowed slightly. Something about the human's tone was different. Less fearful, almost confident. "Educational?" Vextal repeated. "Yes, you see, my name is Kang Hyun, but my title is Senior Intelligence Analyst for the Human Strategic Defense Force. I was not here as a minor diplomat. I was here to study you." The alien warlord felt the first small stirring of unease. "Study? Me? Every battle you showed me, every tactic you explained, every technical detail you provided, all of it has been analyzed by our tactical computers and used to develop countermeasures." Vextal laughed, but the sound was less confident than before. "You think your analysis can overcome centuries of proven success?" "We are about to find out," Kang Hyun said calmly. The communication ended, leaving Vextal staring at a blank screen. He turned to his sensor officer. "Report on human fleet movements." "No human ships detected in this system, Commander. Our scouts confirm that the nearest human naval base is 6 light-years away. Even at maximum speed, reinforcements could not arrive for at least 3 days." Vextal relaxed slightly. Then the human was bluffing. "Begin the attack on the first. Colony world. Standard formation. Full speed." The Crimson Fleet moved into its familiar 3-wave formation. Scout ships accelerated ahead to probe for defenses. Heavy cruisers followed in the middle formation. Vextal's massive flagship brought up the rear, ready to deliver the final blow once enemy resistance collapsed. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. "Target acquisition systems are active." "Begin the assault," Vextal commanded. "Show these humans why I am called the Master of Death." The first wave of scout ships raced toward the human colony world of New Sol. Their sensors swept space ahead, looking for the expected pattern of defensive platforms and patrol vessels. Instead, they found something impossible. "Commander," the scout leader's voice crackled over the communication system. "I am reading massive energy signatures throughout this system. Multiple large ships, but they are not showing on visual scanners." "Impossible," Vextal snapped. "Run full spectrum analysis." "Sir, the signatures are there, but the ships appear to be using some kind of advanced stealth technology. They are hiding in the asteroid fields and behind the planet's moons." Vextal felt cold fear creep up his spine. In 17 campaigns, he had never faced an enemy with technology superior to his own. "All ships maintain formation and continue advance," he ordered. "Whatever tricks they are using, we still have superior numbers." But as his fleet pressed forward, more impossible things began to happen. Ships appeared from empty space where his sensors showed nothing. These vessels were sleek and dark, unlike anything in his tactical databases. "Commander," his communication officer reported, "we are receiving targeted jamming on our quantum-encrypted channels. Someone is broadcasting interference on frequencies that are supposed to be classified." The jamming grew stronger, creating static and delays in his command network. Orders took longer to reach his ships. Status reports became confused and contradictory. "How are they jamming our communications?" Vextal demanded. "Those frequencies are military secrets." His technical officer checked her instruments with growing alarm. "Sir, the interference patterns suggest they know our exact encryption methods. This is not random jamming. Someone is specifically targeting our command protocols." On the main battle display, Vextal watched his perfect formation begin to lose cohesion as communication delays mounted. Ships that should have moved together started falling out of sync. All ships switch to backup communication channels, he ordered. Sir, the backup channels are being jammed too, came the reply, and the emergency frequencies. They seem to know all of our communication systems. A new voice cut through the static on the command channel. It was Admiral Park Nari, speaking from the bridge of a human warship that had somehow appeared behind Vextal's formation. Commander Vextal, this is Admiral Park Nari of the Human Defense Fleet. I want to thank my colleague Kang Hyun for providing such detailed intelligence about your tactical methods. Vextal spun around to face his sensor displays. A human fleet had indeed materialized around his forces, but not in any formation he recognized. Instead of meeting his three-wave assault head-on, they had spread out in a complex pattern that seemed designed to counter his specific approach. You studied my tactics, Vextal said, more to himself than to anyone else. Very carefully, Admiral Park replied over the comm. We know you always send scouts first, so we prepared traps specifically for fast, lightly armored vessels. We know your heavy cruisers follow predictable attack patterns, so we positioned our forces to exploit the gaps in your formation, as if to demonstrate her point. Human ships began emerging from concealment at precisely the locations where Vextal's formation was weakest. His scouts found themselves surrounded by vessels that had been waiting in exactly the right places. Captain Lee Jun, execute Maneuver 7, Admiral Park ordered over the tactical channel. Human fighter squadrons burst from hidden positions within the asteroid field. But instead of attacking Vextal's ships directly, they targeted the communication, relays, and sensor arrays that linked his fleet together. They are hitting our coordination systems, Vextal's tactical officer reported. Just like you did to the Alliance fleet at Zerion Prime. The terrible irony was not lost on Vextal. His own tactics were being used against him with surgical precision. Every weakness he had exploited in other enemies the humans had identified in his forces. Lieutenant Kim Yuna, begin Phase 2, Admiral Park commanded. The human ships did not charge forward in the emotional attack Vextal had predicted. Instead, they began a coordinated series of strikes that seemed designed to cause maximum disruption, with minimal direct confrontation. Sir, his sensor officer called out, the humans are not trying to destroy our ships. They are targeting specific systems to disable our coordination and mobility. Vextal watched in growing horror as his supposedly invincible fleet began to fall apart. Communication breakdowns led to confusion. Ships that could not coordinate began to interfere with each other. Some of his own vessels nearly collided as they tried to maneuver without proper information. This is impossible, he muttered. No one has ever turned my own methods against me. Commander, his communication officer said urgently, Admiral Park is requesting to speak with you directly. The human admiral's face appeared on the main screen. She was a middle-aged woman with silver hair and calm, intelligent eyes. She looked nothing like the emotional, reckless Commander Vextal had expected. Commander Vextal, she said politely, your fleet is now completely surrounded and your communication network has been compromised. I suggest you consider surrender before this situation becomes more difficult for everyone involved. Vextal looked at his tactical displays in disbelief. Somehow, without him noticing, the humans had moved their ships into positions that gave them overwhelming tactical advantage. His 300 vessels were scattered and confused while the smaller human fleet maintained perfect coordination. How? Was all he could manage to say. Admiral Park smiled slightly. As my colleague told, you, Commander, we learn. Vextal refused to accept what his displays were showing him. For 17 campaigns, overwhelming force had solved every problem. Now, faced with tactical precision instead of brute strength, his mind struggled to adapt. All ships, concentrate fire on the human flagship, he commanded. If we destroy their admiral, their coordination will collapse just like every other species. His remaining functional vessels turned their weapons toward Admiral Park's ship. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles streaked through space in a devastating display of firepower. But the human admiral had anticipated this response. Her ship was already moving, following an evasive pattern that seemed random but actually led Vextal's weapons fire into empty space. Worse, the concentrated attack had pulled his scattered ships closer together, exactly where the waiting human forces wanted them. Captain Lee, now would be good. Admiral Park said calmly into her comm. Human fighter squadrons that had been waiting in the shadows of nearby asteroids suddenly activated their engines. They swept through Vextal's concentrated formation like surgical knives, targeting the weapon systems and shield generators that his ships needed to remain effective. Sir, we are losing offensive capability across the fleet, Vextal's tactical officer reported. The human fighters are hitting specific systems with incredible precision. Vextal watched in growing desperation as his ships were systematically disarmed rather than destroyed. The humans were not trying to win through massive destruction. They were removing his ability to fight back while keeping his crews alive. This is not how space battles work, he growled. They should be trying to destroy us, not disable us. Perhaps, came Dr. Shin Mirai's voice over the communication channel. That is why you are losing. A new face appeared on Vextal's screen. Doctor? Shin was a middle-aged human woman with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She looked more like a teacher than a military strategist. Commander Vextal, I am Dr. Shin Mirai, xenobiologist and strategic analyst. I have spent the past 2 days studying your psychological profile and tactical preferences. What do you want? Vextal snarled. To explain why your methods are failing, Dr. Shin replied calmly. Your species has a hierarchical social structure based on dominance displays. You win battles by breaking enemy morale through overwhelming demonstrations of power. Vextal's 4 eyes narrowed. And that approach has worked perfectly. Against species that share similar psychological patterns, yes, Dr. Shin agreed. But humans do not break when faced with superior force. We adapt, we learn, we find ways to turn strength into weakness. As if to demonstrate her point, another wave of human ships appeared from concealment. These vessels were even smaller than the fighters, but they moved with purpose toward Vextal's communication arrays and sensor networks. You are targeting our coordination systems, Vextal observed. The same tactic I used against the Alliance, at Zarian Prime. Exactly, Dr. Shin confirmed. But we are doing it with surgical precision rather than brute force jamming. We studied your communication protocols during our conversations and developed specific countermeasures. Lieutenant, Kim Yuna's voice came over the tactical channel. Phase 3 complete. Enemy fleet coordination is down to 30% effectiveness. Vextal looked at his displays in disbelief. His massive warships were still functional, still armed, still dangerous. But they could barely communicate with each other or coordinate their movements. Without unity of command, his superior numbers meant nothing. Sir, his sensor officer called out urgently. The humans are not attacking our main ships at all. They are focusing entirely on support systems, communication relays, and coordination networks. They are fighting smart instead of fighting hard, Vextal said, finally beginning to understand. But why? They could destroy my ships if they wanted. To Admiral Park's voice answered his unspoken question. Because we do not want to destroy you, Commander. We want to stop you. There is a difference. The human admiral's ship had somehow moved to a position directly in front of Vextal's flagship. Other human vessels surrounded the massive alien warship in a perfect sphere formation. Your crew includes thousands of beings, Admiral Park continued. Destroying your fleet would mean killing all of them. We prefer a more precise solution. You mean surrender, Vextal said bitterly. I mean justice, Admiral Park replied. You have conquered 17 systems and enslaved billions of beings. That cannot continue. Vextal looked around his bridge at his confused and frightened crew. His officers stared at displays showing a fleet that was falling apart despite having superior firepower. His communication officer could barely maintain contact with half of his ships. His tactical systems were overwhelmed by precise interference patterns. This is not possible, he whispered. I am the master of death. I have never been defeated. You have never faced an enemy that studied you. First, Dr. Shin said gently. Every tactic you explained to Kang Hyun was analyzed and countered. Every weakness you revealed was exploited. Your greatest strength became our greatest advantage. What weakness? Vextal demanded. My tactics are perfect. Your tactics are predictable, Admiral Park corrected. You use the same 3-wave, approach in every battle. You always keep your command ship at maximum range. You rely on superior numbers and overwhelming firepower. Captain Lee's fighter squadrons were now moving freely through what remained of Vextal's formation. The alien ships could not coordinate their point defense systems effectively, leaving them vulnerable to the precise strikes of the smaller human craft. Against enemies who react with fear and desperation, your methods work perfectly, Dr. Shin explained. But we did not react with fear. We reacted with curiosity. We wanted to understand you before we fought you. Vextal felt something he had not experienced in decades of warfare: helplessness. His ships were more powerful than the human vessels, but power without coordination was useless. His weapons could destroy planets, but they could not hit targets that knew exactly how to avoid them. You studied me like a specimen, he said with growing anger. We studied you like a teacher, Admiral Park replied. You taught us everything. We needed to know about your methods. Then we developed better methods. The final phase of the human plan became clear as more ships emerged from hiding places throughout the system. These were not warships, but support vessels carrying boarding teams and technical specialists. You are going to capture my fleet, Vextal realized. We are going to liberate the systems you conquered, Admiral Park corrected. Your ships will be returned to their original owners. Your crews will face trial for their crimes. The beings you enslaved will be free. Lieutenant Kim's voice crackled over the comm. Admiral, all enemy vessels are now isolated and unable to coordinate resistance. Boarding teams are ready to begin operations. Vextal looked at his tactical display one final time. 300 warships, each one capable of destroying a city, rendered helpless by an enemy that had fought with intelligence instead of strength. You have not won through superior firepower, he said to Admiral Park. You have won through superior knowledge. That is the human way, the Admiral replied. We listen, we learn, we adapt. Then we apply what we have learned with precision. The Pom, Great Master of Death, sat in his command chair, surrounded by enemies who had defeated him without destroying him. For the first time in his career, Vextal had nothing left to say. The boarding shuttles approached Vextal's flagship with careful precision. Human Marines in powered armor moved through the corridors of the massive alien warship, securing sections one by one. There was no resistance. The crew of the Death's Edge sat at their stations in stunned silence, unable to process their defeat. Vextal remained in his command chair, staring at displays that showed his scattered and helpless fleet. Around him, his bridge officers waited for orders that never came. The Master of Death had no words left. Admiral Park Nari materialized on the main communication screen one final time. Behind her, the bridge of her ship showed calm efficiency. Human officers monitored the capture operation with professional competence. Commander Vextal, she said formally, I am placing you and your fleet under arrest for crimes against sentient beings. You will be transported to Galactic Council custody to face trial. Vextal looked up at her image slowly. You could have destroyed us. Why did you not? Because destroying you would not undo the harm you have caused, Admiral Park replied. The 17 systems you conquered deserve justice, not revenge. The billions you enslaved deserve to see their oppressor face trial. The alien warlord's four eyes dimmed with something that might have been regret. I was victorious for so long. I thought victory meant I was right. Victory without justice is just organized destruction, Admiral Park said. Real strength comes from protecting others, not conquering them. Heavy footsteps echoed through the bridge as human Marines entered. They moved with discipline and purpose, but their weapons remained lowered. Even now, they showed restraint. Sir, the Marine commander addressed Vextal respectfully, please stand and prepare for transport. Vextal rose slowly from his command chair. The seat that had been his throne for decades of conquest now felt like a prison. He looked around his bridge one last time, seeing his defeated officers and broken dreams of empire. My crew, he said, to Admiral Park. What will happen to them? Those who committed crimes will face trial, she replied. Those who were following orders will have the chance to return to their homes or begin new lives. We do not punish people for the choices of their leaders. This answer surprised Vextal more than anything else in the battle. You show mercy to enemies who would have shown you none. That is what separates justice from vengeance, Admiral, Park said simply. As Vextal was led away, he passed the workstation where Kang Hyun now stood. The human intelligence analyst was coordinating the peaceful transfer of alien crew members to transport ships. His tablet showed lists of names and homeworlds, not battle plans. You, Vextal said, stopping in front of Kang Hyun. You listened to every word I said. You made me believe you were afraid. Kang Hyun looked up from his tablet with the same calm expression he had worn throughout their conversations. I was never afraid of you, Commander. I was studying you. All those questions about my tactics, my victories, were designed to make you reveal information, Kang Hyun confirmed. Your pride made you want to explain your success. That pride became your weakness. Vextal felt a strange emotion he had not experienced in years, respect for an enemy. You used my own nature against me. We used your own words against you, Kang Hyun corrected. Every detail you shared helped us prepare a counter-strategy. Your greatest victories taught us how to defeat you. The Marine commander gently guided Vextal toward the exit, but the alien commander had one final question. What will you do with my ships, my weapons? Dr. Shin Mirei's voice answered over the communication system. Your vessels will be returned to the species you stole them from. Your weapons will be dismantled or converted to peaceful purposes. Your empire will become a memory. And the systems I conquered will be free, Admiral Park said from the main screen. The governments you destroyed will be rebuilt. The peoples you enslaved will choose their own futures. It will take time, but the damage you caused will be repaired. Vextal walked through the corridors of his flagship as a prisoner, instead of a conqueror. Human and alien crew members worked together to secure the ship and transfer prisoners. There was no chaos, no revenge, no unnecessary violence. Just efficient, professional completion of a necessary task. At the transport bay, Vextal paused and turned back to look at his ship one final time. The Death's Edge had been his home and his weapon for over 20 years. Now it would serve peaceful purposes. Commander, one of the human Marines said quietly, there is something you should know. Vextal looked at the young soldier. What? The human colonies you threatened to attack. They were evacuated 3 days ago. We never intended to let you harm civilians while we prepared our response. Another surprise. Another demonstration that these humans thought differently than any enemy he had faced. They had protected their people while simultaneously preparing to fight. You planned this entire operation from the beginning, Vextal realized. From the moment you arrived at Harmony 7 Station, the Marine confirmed. Kang Hyun was not there to negotiate. He was there to gather intelligence. Vextal boarded the transport ship that would carry him to face galactic justice. Through the small window, he watched his mighty fleet being systematically dismantled by teams of human and alien specialists working together. As the transport pulled away from his former flagship, Vextal heard Admiral Park's final message over the communication system. To all vessels of the former Crimson Fleet, you are free to return to your home systems or apply for asylum with any member species of the Galactic Council. Your service to the Crimson Fleet is ended. Your new lives begin now. The alien warlord who had called himself the Master of Death sat in silence as his empire dissolved around him. He had been defeated not by superior weapons or overwhelming force, but by patience, intelligence, and precision. In the transport's communication center, a recording device activated automatically. Future military students would study this battle, not as an example of how to destroy enemies, but as an example of how to defeat them without becoming like them. The last entry in Vextal's military record would note that his 17-campaign winning streak had ended not in a blaze of destruction, but in the quiet professionalism of beings who valued justice over vengeance. The Master of Death had been silenced by the gentle precision of those who understood that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to know. when destruction is necessary and when it is not. As his transport carried him toward trial and judgment, Vextal finally understood what the human Kang Hyun had meant when he said those simple words. We learn. And in learning, they had found a way to defeat him without becoming him. Perhaps that was the most human thing of all.